Joining us now, Sam the Man Nunberg. Sam was with the Trump political operation, well, before it was a real campaign, advising him for a very long time, and he was also with the campaign during the nominating process, and he worked there, and he kind of knew the players, and he's with us now. Sam, happy holidays to you. Good to have you with us.
John, thank you for having me. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving with your family.
No better Thanksgiving ever. We're looking forward also to the Christmas holidays coming up and doing a little traveling. Sam, you were at Trump Tower a long time. You were part of the Trump political operation before he ran for president, during the campaign. You work with Michael Cohen, obviously everybody did in there. And I was telling Lewandowski this story when he was on a few moments ago, that when I first went to Trump Tower when the campaign started to interview for vice chairman of Virginia, which I got that position, and I met Corey there, and I said, Corey, this is my first time here. Any do's and don'ts, right? I mean, that's a normal thing you would say, right, for being the outside. The only thing he said to me, he said, I've only got one don't. Don't meet with Michael Cohen. If you see him coming, here's a picture of him. Go in the opposite direction. That's all he said. So you work with a guy. What's the deal with this guy?
Well, Michael originally bought a lot of apartments, so people can understand. He bought something like 6 Trump apartments at once in early 2000s, I think 2005 or so. And then he helped then Mr. Trump, along with some other residents of the Trump property. He helped them on an issue that they were having, some of the residents, some of the occupants of the building, and the Trump management. Michael then was able to get a job at the Trump organization, working closely with Mr. Trump. The issue was Michael was a freelancer in terms of his responsibilities that he had. A lot of what he was working on, it always seemed to me, he would be working on a commission type basis, and therefore he'd be looking to do things that maybe he didn't even brief then Mr. Trump on. A lot of times things that he would do were either on the real estate side. Look, I had nothing to do with real estate. I had nothing to do with the business. And when I tell you that, this is something I had to tell the special counsel many times over, which I'm sure they already knew. But whatever I heard in terms of Michael trying to get involved with the real estate transaction, they always wanted him at arm's length. They didn't want him necessarily taking the lead on so many things. With that said, look, Michael was very loyal to President Trump, but that doesn't mean that Michael was somebody who operated well. John, am I making sense here? In other words, sometimes he could make things much worse than they had to be. Sometimes he would have ideas that you would say to Michael, that's not even good. Please don't bring that to then Mr. Trump. And case in point is Trump Tower, Moscow. Look, I was not with the campaign at that point. I read about it. I learned about it when it was first reported in the New York Times. But, John, I am sure this is something that somebody like Corey Lewandowski or Hope Hicks had no idea about. This is something that even starting in September or October of 2015, December of 2015, Donald Trump, if the campaign had known about it, they would have said, what are you doing? This is crazy. It was something that didn't seem that serious, but this is what Michael did. And I think it's very important when the audience understands that just because Donald Trump signed a letter of intent for Donald Trump on an international deal, that doesn't mean anything in terms of him receiving money. That doesn't mean anything in terms of a concrete deal being negotiated. What it is something where he signed a letter saying, yes, I'm interested in building a property. If the property can come together, that would be great. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. And he doesn't put up any money. He doesn't receive any money. And if this was a major operation or something along the lines of for instance, let me give you an example. To the extent that I saw anything when the Trump organization was bidding to get Trump D.C. post office, we all love Trump D.C. If you live in the D.C. area, you've been there. I think it's the nicest hotel in D.C. Michael had nothing to do with that, from my understanding. That was led by other factions within the Trump organization, and particularly Ivanka Trump, on the acquisition of Trump Doral, something that was done that they were going to do. Michael had nothing to do with that. Michael was looking on spec deals. Michael was, in terms of real estate, and in terms of Trump Tower Moscow, this is something that the president, look, John, the president has talked about it. He'd want, in the past, I'm not saying publicly, I mean, the position of the Trump organization was they were always looking to build something there, but that had nothing to do with the campaign. It had nothing to do with the positions he took at the during the campaign. And even if it did, let's say, once again, we go to the fact of where is Vladimir Putin today compared to where Vladimir Putin was when Barack Obama was president. And this is boring, but I have to go through it. Donald Trump has armed the Ukrainians to the teeth. Barack Obama refused to. Donald Trump has issued at least 3 separate sets of sanctions against the Russians, 2 unilaterally by his Treasury Department. Donald Trump has rearmed NATO. Barack Obama took all of our hardware, U.S. hardware, U.S. tanks, 2013. He took them away. He brought them back to the United States, and that is when Vladimir Putin afterwards went and invaded Crimea. Donald Trump has been much tougher on Vladimir Putin, and if Vladimir Putin bet on Donald Trump, which I believe he did, I think Vladimir Putin wanted Donald Trump to win. I take him at his word. I also think, by the way, John, the Iranians wanted Hillary Clinton to win. Why wouldn't they, right?
Right.
But Vladimir Putin has certainly got the bad end of the deal, and he's facing somebody who's tougher on the Russians than I think anybody would have been, including most of the 16 people he beat in the Republican primary. Now, going to this plea, or what Michael pled to, it's very important to remember 2 things. First of all, Michael pled to this, okay? They didn't prove this in court, and there's a difference between what you plead to and what is called adjudicated and found guilty. Michael pleads and says that he told the Congress, he told the Senate that there had been no discussions about Trump Tower Moscow after, I believe, January of 2016. That was clearly a lie, and I, who have to follow this very closely, knew that this was a lie because the person he was working with, a Felix Sater, who really is a very unsavory character himself, somebody who should not have been associated with the Trump org, he had leaked all the information to Anthony Cormier at BuzzFeed, and Michael had been talking about the project with Anthony sporadically up until June of 2016. But here's the point. When I could tell you for a fact that just because Michael is talking about something doesn't mean the Trump organization and Donald Trump and Ivanka and Don and Eric and other top-level associates there are talking about it. Once again, Michael freelanced a lot. And this, he got Donald Trump from the way it looks publicly. Just the fact that it's Trump Tower Moscow during the election, he did a disservice to him. And it shows Michael should have thought himself, the minute this Trump Tower Moscow project was presented to him by Felix Sater, he should have said, look, we can't do this. Donald Trump's running for president. Donald Trump did not look for this. Michael, once again, was freelancing because he worked on commission. And Michael also, in a way, I sympathize with him because I know his family. But Michael had unreasonable expectations about what he expected should Donald Trump ever be elected. I mean, he genuinely thought he could be chief of staff to this president, and that's not. I mean, that's something he'd be completely unqualified for. I mean, if he told me that, yeah, if he said to me, "Look, I want to get a job like Omarosa has," right? Omarosa had, I'd be like, "Sure, fine, that would make sense." But he had these very unreasonable expectations of what to expect if and when Mr. Trump became President Trump. Another important fact, though, I want to mention, I'd be remiss, is in the court filing, at that court hearing, a Janine Rhee, R-H-E-E, was representing the special counsel's office. And case in point, I was not interviewed by her during my voluntary, but she was in the grand jury room. She has no place to be on that special counsel. So your audience understands this is a woman who represented Hillary Clinton. This is a woman who represented the Hillary Clinton campaign. And this is a woman who represented the Clinton Foundation. On a side note, she also represented Ben Rhodes during the Benghazi investigation in the House. This woman, who worked with Robert Mueller at the private law firm, and she would not be able, John, to represent Donald Trump legally in any civil action. She'd be conflicted out. How the hell, in what world, is she able to investigate him?
I don't know. I mean, that is a great question that you pose, Sam. How would she possibly be the person investigating him when she had no information on the ground whatsoever? And the fact that Cohen was freelancing, you bring up one other thing, Sam, that has been nowhere in the fake news. And by the way, we're with Sam Nunberg. Sam, a former associate of Donald Trump. He was part of his political organization before he ran for president, part of his campaign in the early part of 2015 going into the nomination process. And now he's a senior advisor to Steve Bannon's political C4, isn't it? Is it a C4? What is it, Steve?
Yeah, it's Citizens of the American Republic.
Right,
That's
Citizens of the American Republic, which is a C4, not aligned with any campaign or anything of that. And he's a senior advisor there. Bannon's the director of it. So what you just said, Cohen was not an employee of Trump Organization. He was a freelancer. He was a contractor, basically. He was his attorney, but he worked
or he may have received a salary, but the majority of what he tried to earn was through commission. I don't want to say he didn't earn a salary. What I'm saying is that he is that the vast majority of the income he could earn from Trump Org would be on commission. So if he was earning something, let's say around $200,000, I don't know the amount, that's fine, but he was looking to make, X hundred thousands or millions a year through deals.
Right. So if he put a deal together, he would get a percentage of that deal. So therefore, he was trying to put something together in Moscow or wherever. And certainly what you're saying is had anybody in the campaign been aware of that, they would have immediately said, they would have gone to the boss and said, hey, you really can't be working on this while you're running for president because it just doesn't look good. Nobody knew about it.
Especially this one.
Especially this one. Cohen was doing it himself. So, again, Trump had nothing to do with this. But let's just get to the whole Mueller investigation, this witch hunt. I mean, what if Sam, 18 months and, I don't know, $100 million, they have 60 lawyers, all full-time. What did they actually come up with? Just name one thing that has anything to do with the original intent of their investigation, which was proving some kind of collusion between the campaign and the Russian government. Do they have anything here after 18 months?
I don't think. Look, you and I would be very surprised if they have anything that shows a real conspiracy or shows collusion. So, do they? I doubt. I highly doubt. Let's not say what we know, what they don't know. Right? We got to be careful, John. Just because we don't know what they have.
Right. We don't know.
I'm just saying. I highly doubt that they have any direct evidence which shows any Trump associate, any Trump campaign official directly coordinating or communicating with the Russian military and or WikiLeaks. What they have shown me is that Jerome Corsi and Roger Stone couldn't even get a meeting with WikiLeaks. They wanted a meeting, right?
Right.
That's what they've shown me. What they've shown me is they have all these, what they have shown me is that they are going to great lengths in these indictments when they're putting out facts to show a web that could show some kind of conspiracy. But to me, it looks like the equivalent of that great movie, A Beautiful Mind, when they open John Nash's office, played by Russell Crowe, and you see the guy's a crazy man, and he has like wires everywhere, right, connecting pictures.
Right.
There just is no there, and that gets to the point of: is this something that was looking for a result, and now they're trying to find it, or is this something that was actually looking for the truth? Because the truth to me is clear, and the truth is this: Vladimir Putin wanted Donald Trump to win. So what? Donald Trump, the Iranians wanted Hillary Clinton to win, okay?
Right.
Benjamin Netanyahu preferred Donald Trump to win.
Right.
The Angela Merkel preferred Hillary Clinton to win. We can do this one all day.
Right.
But they wanted him to win. They were involved in our election, and they decided when to put things out that they felt could systematically help. What I will tell you, and what has scared me from the very beginning when I heard about this, was what James Clapper actually flat out said, because he's such an idiot, was that some of these people, high intelligence Obama officials, talking about the Comeys, talking about the Clappers, those people, and Clapper has said this, feel that the Russians flat out delivered this election to Donald Trump. That is the rationale for people like this to think that they can therefore take out Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. These are people that live in a different world than you and me. They don't necessarily care about the will of the people. They care about this idea that they are this branch of government here to save our republic. I don't think they save our republic, because these are the same people that took orders laid down for Barack Obama, and they're going to tell me that Donald Trump doesn't have the moral fiber to be president. I find that pretty ironic.
Look, I think you're spot on. Sam Nunberg, senior advisor now with Citizens for the American Republic. That is Steve Bannon's C4 Political Action Committee. Sam, just in 30 seconds, what are you guys working on now?
Well, obviously, we're reassessing the results. I think that what we're immediately going to start looking into for 2019 is the president. Well, any way that we can help. I think, John, one of the major problems for this president, if you look at the numbers or direction of the country, vast majority of Americans don't believe we're on a right track, and he's just not getting the credit for the economy. And I think that the American people need to be educated in a lot of ways about that, in ways that properly a C4 can help. So those are my recommendations to Steve, and we're going to look to see how we can utilize those on a messaging front. And then I think also we're going to have to figure out how to help with the grassroots, because what we can't have is something that we saw last cycle. I'm talking about the midterms, where we get, and God bless them, they're good people, but we get the Paul Ryan types of the world deciding that they want to spend millions of dollars in certain races and not help other races that we could have won, which we lost by, under 2,000 votes, under 1,000 votes. So that's what we're figuring out.
That is so true. I'm certainly glad you guys are involved, Sam Nunberg. By any means, any event you have coming up or any way that I can get involved to contribute to your ongoing policies or success, let me know. I believe in what you guys are trying to do, and I think you made a big difference in the 2018 midterms, no question. Sam, I'm out of time. Thanks for being with us.